Hello friends and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video we are going to continue our game. But before that I want you to do a small change here in the animation of our player. Select your player here and inside the animation make sure that the first frame our rotation is at 0, and in at second frame our rotation should be minus 180, and at the end the rotation on Z should be minus 360, and save it. Now we are going to add a dust particles. We have created in the previous video. Now to do that I am going to first drag the my dust prefab into the hierarchy and select it and change its position so that we can see it in the game. Now if I play this you will see pink uh, shapes emitting. What we need to do is select the my dust prefab and in the renderer drag this dust cloud material to the material property and then select the dust cloud and change the texture to dust cloud. Save it, and now you can see that we have a dust effect in our game. Now click on the apply to apply the changes in the prefab and delete that prefab from the hierarchy. So now if I drag it, we have our dust particle. Now we are going to add it to our cube, so I am going to open my script. So first we need a reference to our dust particle, so I am going to create a public game object and call it dust particle. Now in the on collision inter, what we are going to do is we are going to create an empty game object or temporary game object and call it temp, and then we are going to instantiate our dust particle, and the second argument instantiate takes is the position. So I am going to create a new vector 3, and at the x-axis we want it to transform dot position dot x, and on the y same transform dot position dot y, and we want to subtract 0.5 f here. So what this will do, subtracting the value, so the y will be at the center of the cube, so we want it to uh, instantiate at the bottom of our cube, so that's why we have subtracted 0.5 so that it will emit from the bottom of our cube. Now the for the z axis we are going to say transform dot position dot z. Now the third argument it takes is the rotation, so we are simply going to say dust particle dot transform dot rotation. Now so This will actually instantiate a dust particle whenever our cube hits the tile, but we want it to destroy the particles after some time. So we are going to say destroy and temp. So let's say after 1.5 seconds we want to destroy these particles. So that's pretty much it. So let me now click on your player, and so we have an error fixed. So now we want to actually drag the my dust into dust particle, save it. Now we are going to play the game. Now you can see that we have our dust particles. So, and make sure the animation samples is set to 60 or 50. So now what we want to do is we want to randomly generate these tiles. So for that I am going to create an empty game object and call it tiles generator. So, and also we want to create a new C# script and call it generator. So I'm going to open it. So first thing we want to do is we want to get the reference of our tile prefab. So let me create a prefab. So here you can see that we have our tile, and I'm going to drag and drop it inside our assets folder. So this will create a tile prefab. Now here I am going to say public game object tile prefab. Now after that we want to actually create a two float variables. So I am going to say public float x difference, and also public float y difference, and the third one is public float y difference big. So as you can see that we have our distance, the distance between two tiles from this and this. We will store this distance inside our x difference. So the x difference will be same for generating big tile and small tile, but the y difference should is not the same, because for small tile to generate we want a 0.5 distance, and for big tile we want a distance of 1.1. So that's why we have created these variables. Now after that I'm going to create a public void generate tiles function. So this will actually generate tiles. So we want random tiles. We can create, we can instantiate small and big tiles. So to randomize it we are going to say int random, and we are going to generate a random number. So based on that number we will decide whether to instantiate small or big tile. So random dot range, we will say from 0 to 5. So if random is less than or equals to 2, we want to generate small tile. So let me create this function here, void generate small tile. Also we need another function for big tile, so we will say generate big tile. So if the random value is less than or equal to 2, we will generate small tile, else we will generate big tile. So the next thing we want to do is set the values for these variables. So as you can see that I have already calculated the value, so I am going to copy it and paste it right here. So how you find the difference between two tiles? So in order to find distance, let's say this tile is at x, it is minus 2.5, and the next tile is minus 1.5. Or let's say this is at 0 and this is 1.4, so the distance between these two will be 1.4. So to calculate the distance, you will subtract the next tile value from the previous one, and you will get the difference between them. Same for the y-axis. Let's say y here is minus 4 and at here this is minus 2.6, so the y difference will be 1.4. So after that we want to store the initial position where we are going to instantiate the first tile. So at the first position for the tile is at minus 2.5 and at y minus 4.5. So I'm going to copy these positions that I have, so and paste it right here. So we need these values to instantiate the first tile. So what we are going to do inside our generate small tiles and big tiles function, so let me copy the code from here. So as you can see that we are updating these variables. So x position will be incremented uh, after we have done generating our tile. So what we are going to do, so let me change it to 0. So we are already incrementing it, both set the both values to 0, or we can do it another way. So now what we are going to do is instantiate the tile prefab, and the position we are going to say new vector 3 here, and at the x position we want to say x position and y position, and for the z, let me check the z position. So z is 0, so we will simply say 0. And for the rotation, we want the tile prefab default rotation dot tile prefab dot transform dot rotation, and that's it. So now we are going to do the same inside our generate big tile. So for big tile, we want to increment the y position by the big tile difference. So we will say y difference big and place it right here. So that's actually pretty much it. So now we are going to check it. I'm going to use a for loop for int I equals 0 and I less than 5. We want 5 tiles to be generated at start I, and we are going to call this generate tiles function right here. Now go back inside Unity and assign the generator script to tiles generator game object. So we also need to instantiate this tile prefab, and this will be here in a moment. So here it is. Now drag the tile prefab and put it right here. Save the scene and remove all the tiles from here. But now we want our cube to fall from the sky. Now I'm going to play this. So now we have a position error. So what we need to do is we need to either make these two values 0, or we need to update the position after we have done instantiating. So I am going to simply make them 0. So let me see what the problem is here. So our tile is at -1.4. So we need to place our cube at -1.4. So I am going to change the cube position to -1.4, so it falls on our tile. So now you can see that we have our 5 tiles randomly generated. So here you can see that it has generated 4 big tiles and then small tile. So Now here is another thing. So when we generate tiles, so make sure that the tag is already set it to tile. So your prefab should have a tag called tile. So now what we are going to do is we want to, whenever we generate a new tile, we want to remove one tile from the scene. So how we are going to do it? What we will do is, so we need to create another script. So here, or we can do it in on collision enter. So what we are going to do is, we want our tile uh, to be destroyed after 0.5 seconds. So what we are going to do, when we hit the our tile, so we will destroy the tile. So I am going to, sorry, at the end I am going to call destroy function and call, get the reference to our tile by call dot game object, and we want to destroy it after 0.5 seconds. Or we can do another thing. We can attach a rigid body to our tile. So to do that, we will create a new function called, or we can create an enumerator called fall tile, and we want it after 0.5 seconds. So in here I am going to put 0.5, and what we are going to do is we will send the reference. We will call this I enumerator here by using start coroutine, and I will call this coroutine here, and we will send the reference of our tile by call dot game object. So in here we are going to receive a game object called call, and we are going to say call dot add component rigid body 2D here, or we can make it 1 second. Now if I go back, So as you can see that after 1 second our tile will fall down. So now in the next video we will continue this project and we will add more functionality to it, and I will see you in next video.